rib unto a man of God. It is the Alpha and Omega of his divine destiny. It brings him into the fullness and completion of wholeness to his inner and outer being. Until a man of God finds a woman of God that is ordained to him by God, he is merely in a state of just being, in a deep sleep or stupor, if you will. This is why it is part of a man's destiny to find his rib, to bring forth completion of his existence in this earthly realm. A holy and pure marriage is a sacred covenant with God.
Prophetess Cynthia Clark says, women are to reserve their temple or their bodies for their husbands. Sex is reserved for the office of wifehood and husbandhood. A man's wife comes out of his imagination. Man and wife were created equal because they are one. God just ordained them to have different responsibilities after the fall of man in the Garden of Eden.
Cynthia Osgood says, God bless and thank you for the teachings, Master Prophet. What I learned today is with responsibility comes power.
Prophetess Patricia Murthy says, man plus woman equals click, and the power is turned on. Blessed teaching, awesome. If only the young men and women today could understand the power in the union. Thank you for the wisdom. I love hearing principles of God.
Gerard Davis says, this teaching was very powerful today. It gave me some clarity to some things my parents told me in order to mold me into a man. It also explains the situations they tried to keep me away from when I was a teenager. I have a new insight on women and family after this teaching. Thank you, Master Prophet and company, for the teaching.
Cherise says, Jesus, Master Prophet, you are real. Your teaching hit home and guide people in everyday life situation, addressing how important family is in regulating the relationships that we undertake in life really need to be brought forth. Our culture has strayed away from the right way of entering and maintaining relationships. It is so important for later generations to understand the process of truly entering into a relationship and the consequences, good or bad, thereof. Your teaching are changing the mindsets of not just the black community, but God's community. You are truly the resurrection of Jesus in this day. I truly feel that God bless you, Zoe Ministries.
Jesus. Prophetess Gloria Kelly says, this teaching needs to be heralded throughout the land. The office of womanhood is not to be taken lightly. It is highly sacred and needs to be revered by all of society. It takes the celebration of passages to become a wise woman and the wisdom of the elders to become a wife.
Prophetess Deborah Jordan says, the woman represents the thoughts of God because she is always in a state of planning and preparation. God is our greatest planner.
Prophetess Bonetta Croxton says, wow, this was an awesome lesson. I'm glad that I am part of Zoe to get this type of teaching. I wish that I had got this teaching at an earlier age, but since I didn't, I will definitely share it with others, especially the youth. At a young age, we were taught not to do this and not to do thus, but they never explained to us the reasons and the consequences. Thank you, Master Prophet.
Thomasina Mitchell says, wow, this was an awesome teaching. I learned that I have power as a woman and that I was using it in a destructive manner. The past few months since I have been with Zoe, I have learned that I am sacred and I have recommitted myself to a celibate life waiting on my husband. Perhaps you can elaborate on this, Master Prophet, as what should be done after virginity is lost to return yourself to a life of purity. I used to view womanhood as a curse because that is what I was taught in my younger years. But now I know that womanhood is a blessing and should be treated as such. I will now embrace womanhood with reverence for the responsibility of womanhood. Thank you, Master Prophet, Prophetess Deborah, Mother Mary, Prophetess Kelly, for sharing your wisdom. God bless you all.
Okay. Now, if virginity had been lost, I would suggest that you rededicate your life to Christ, rededicate your life to God. Take note of the date that you rededicated your life. I would make that a celebration within itself. Even I got with women, says, you know, and even this would be something good possibly in a women's fellowship, where it says, listen, I rededicated my life. I have remained untouched for a year as of today. I've gone 1 month. I have remained untouched. Have been kept. And you'll find that there are some women that have done that already, where you hear women say, listen, I've been saved now 15 years, and since I let go of that man, I have not had a man in 15 years. And they'll say that, and they'll say, and I'm believing God for my husband. I'm saving myself for that day. And that becomes a degree of pride, celebration, esteem, confidence. I have kept myself. Just like a person said, I'm an alcoholic and I am 10 days sober.
That's what Wes Ratcliffe had said, 3 days. And that's like powerful.
Exactly.
That's the first thing I thought.
And that's what you start to do. So, Thomasine, this is something you want to take a hold of and get your power back. And, mark it on the calendar. It says, I commit myself this day. And I remain celibate. I'm keeping myself pure before God. And when a God comes, that becomes a subject of your conversation. You know what? Since I reconnected myself with God, if you don't see him no more, you didn't need him in your life anyway. Because, see, that meant he was trying to do some work on real estate that he ain't purchased.
Woo! You gotta pay for it.
Because the Bible calls the woman the field. Why is it a field? Because you plant seed in the field. Why? So that a harvest can come up. And if he cannot respect your field enough to purchase it, I want to plant in your field. This is why before you see an individual, and we used to do, before we married people, we used to give them like about 100 questions, was it? We get 100 questions. We had some people cancel the date after they met because we tell people, you got to give up. We want you to give up every person you've been with. Because no one should enter into a marriage and all of a sudden say, who's Jody, honey? Oh, that was somebody back in the day. Which day? You shouldn't be having those discussions in your marriage. That should have been out on the floor before you said, I do. So when Jody shows up after the picture and say, hi, I'm Jody. Oh, yeah, he told me all about y'all. Y'all were together in 1997, right? Yeah. As a matter of fact, he told me, yeah, y'all used to hang out at such and such a hotel. See, that kills everything.
No problems.
There's no problem. There's no surprise. And the other thing I want to say in a marriage, if you're married, you should not have single friends. Married people should hang out with married people. You should not be a married man hanging out with single guys. That's problem. Why? Because you already left that passage. When you're married, you hang out with married men to get the wisdom of that group. If you're a single woman, you hang out with single women until you say, man, I really want to get married. Then you start changing and you hanging out with married women. Why? Because I'm looking for the wisdom. Married women should not have a lot of single women hanging around them. They should not have single women as girlfriends. And that's why there's that bridal shower. Because I've got to say goodbye to y'all. And there's one group you're saying goodbye to, and another group you're saying hello to. Prophetess Kelly.
And you even see that in the wedding ceremony itself, because you have the maid of honor and you have the matron of honor. The maid you're leaving, you were that, but the matron, you're embracing that, and so you move forward into that.
Exactly. And so therefore, now that you're a matron, we shouldn't see as much cleavage.
That's right.
Because you're already hooked. You don't have to display anything. You can button it up. Because see, you only advertise what you want purchased. And see, that's why some of the older women should say, come here, young lady, you're married. Have you looked at yourself lately? And they may say, well, my husband like it. Yeah, but he should be liking that in the bedroom. You can kind of pull that thing down a little bit. And then the men should be going to the man and say, listen, your wife is dressing like she is still looking for someone.